Good morning and welcome to IPC Apex 2019. We've got a packed show for you this week. There's so many new products and new tech coming out this week. It's quite incredible. We're going to be starting off by taking a look at some of the main contract manufacturers in the United States and talking to them about some of the tariffs and the problems with component shortages and seeing what the current landscape is. My first guest this morning is John Hansen from Computrol.
Hi, Trevor.
Nice to see you, John.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're VP of Sales and Marketing at Computrol.
Correct.
Which was, I would say, a Tier 2 company, but you've recently made an acquisition. Can you tell us a little bit about that acquisition and how it's gone for you?
Yeah, a little less than 2 years ago, we purchased another contract manufacturer, Western Electronics.
Yep.
And that was a big purchase for us. They were close to the same size as we were, so it almost doubled our sales volume and our production output.
Right. So that's really kind of pushed you up almost into the Tier 1 space.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that, being having that kind of capacity and trying to offer?
Well, logistically, it was more of the same as far as the capacity went. Really, it was the culture that was the biggest challenge. We worked really hard to find a company that aligned with our culture, but there's always differences, and bringing people over and then getting everybody aligned, that's been a challenge, but it's been a fun challenge, and it's gone really well. And
did you bring over any systems? I mean, because a lot of companies, you have your own systems in-house for controlling your production scheduling.
Yeah. Mostly we used Computrol's existing systems. We use ABAS as a ERP system. We use Valor for our manufacturing execution system, and so we kept those systems in place and took some best practices that they had as far as their quality management system and things like that and rolled them in.
Okay. So I mean, as a manufacturer, I mean, you're looking here at this show at things like CFX and looking for to try and integrate that type of standard into your future practices?
Yeah, we're always looking for what's new. Over the last several years, we've spent a lot of money at this show buying new equipment and keeping our capabilities at the cutting edge, and that's really important to us so that our customers can come to us and get that Tier 1 capability, but in someone who's more flexible and more willing to work with them, like a smaller company.
Right. So let's look at the tariff situation. I mean, are you seeing any signs of business actually coming back to you as a result of the tariffs that are in place?
We are seeing some changes. There's some business that maybe didn't make sense before, that the tariffs are bumping this direction, particularly in some manufacturing areas, metal areas, things like that. But really, the tariffs have they have been a challenge. Every customer wants to deal with them differently. Every vendor deals with them differently to us, and so we have to be really flexible.
Right. And sometimes you don't know you've had a tariff applied until after the event.
Yeah, oftentimes we get the tariff bill 2 weeks after we get the invoice for the product. So it's important that we have an open conversation with our customers first to help them understand the landscape, so that when those things come up, it's not a surprise.
Yeah. What about the other pain point at the moment in the industry is obviously component shortages. I believe that is starting to ease, but I mean, what do you have strategies in place and how you cope with that?
Well, we've really tried to partner with our customers and explain to them what's going on in the marketplace, be very clear about that, share all the market reports that we get, and then develop a strategy together. A lot of times that means putting together a long-term purchasing agreement, maybe 12, 18, 24 months, so that we can go out and schedule with our vendors out way into the future. And it's a lot easier to pull in when you have an order on the books 18 months out than it is to try to just start one from scratch. So we've really tried to negotiate with our customers and then our vendors to lengthen that demand window that we get.
Great. Okay. Yeah. So what's next for Computrol going forward?
Well, like I said, we've had a lot of work to do with this Western acquisition. That's winding down. We're focused now on organic growth. We're going out and just trying to add customers that match who we are and what we do. Right now, we're about a third military, a third medical, and a third commercial and industrial, and so that's kind of our three main silos that we go after customers in.
Excellent. And final question on the smart factory integration out there. Are you putting strategies in place to try and make your lines smarter and talking to each other?
Always. Valor's been a big help in that, actually, and helping us do the integration and automatic data pulling and things talking to each other. So they've been a big partner for that with us.
Okay, well, we wish you the best, John, and nice to catch up with you and see what's new at Computrol.
Thanks, Trevor. You too.
Okay, so that's Computrol. Coming back after the break, we're going to be talking to Wiz Systems. And welcome back. I'm joined now by Mohammed Irfan, who's the president and founder of Wiz Systems. Nice to see you, Mohammed.
Thank you. Good to see you. Good to be here.
Yeah. So Wiz Systems is a fairly unique small company based in the Valley. You're manufacturing small form factor boards and devices for telecoms. Is that a correct characterization?
We've been in business for 20 years and we service across the board. Most of the who's who of the Valley, they're all our customers. So we service many different industries, including defense, high-end computing, storage, networking, mobile platform devices, and some medical. So we've been across the board and we've helped many customers ship some flagship products. Right.
That's interesting. So looking at some of the issues that we're having today, in the industry, I think the thing that's on everybody's lips is the tariffs. Are you having issues with that, and what strategies are you using to cope with it?
We're in a favorable position. One, we chose to invest in Silicon Valley infrastructure, so our presence in Silicon Valley is very strong, with strong engineering team and world-class manufacturing right there in our facility in Santa Clara.
Right.
And then our offshore facility, it's our own facility in Malaysia, so we don't have to deal with the tariffs issue. In fact, it puts us in a favorable position. The stuff that was being built in China, now customers are considering moving it to our Malaysia facility.
Right.
So that has not affected us.
Yeah, that's excellent. So basically you're skirting the tariffs in that way. The other pain issue at the moment in the industry, of course, is component shortages. Is that something that you run into much?
It is an ongoing problem, but we have been very aggressive and very diligent about it. We're very good at it. To date, I'm very proud to say we have not missed a single delivery due to delays of shortages that everybody in the industry is feeling. We have a very interactive and very aggressive approach towards resolving component issues, and we are on it day and night. We have dedicated teams that resolve those issues, and we have been able to do that so far.
Right, okay, good. There's a lot of automation coming into the factory space at the moment. The amount of tech that's here this week is unbelievable. Are you doing anything to move towards a smart factory environment?
We have been doing it actually earlier than other people started to think about it, including, let's say, starting the Juki storage towers. We were the first adopters of that, so we are very progressive in our mindset. We come from engineering DNA, and we always think of automation efficiency. That is the only way we can stay ahead of the curve, in addition to our very strong engineering offering for the customers.
Right.
So we adopt new technologies that help towards efficiency or bring in any level of automation.
Right. But you found the biggest the biggest economy or saving you've made has been through improving the logistics around the factory floor with storage towers and things like this?
At all phases. It's the mindset, to retrain the mindset constantly. We have very sophisticated internal software capability because of our engineering DNA, so we're able to write scripts and automate things, and then adopting new technology from vendors as it comes in. For example, again, back to the Juki towers, we started with one. We were the first one in the Bay Area to start that, adopting that technology, and today we have 9 of those towers. So any company of our size or even bigger than us, they have not made that level of investment. So we are very well capitalized. We really believe in our business, in efficiency and sophistication. So we reinvest very diligently back in our business, both in training our people, equipment, and capability.
That's amazing. That's great. Well, it's great to hear a bit about Whiz. I've visited you once. I do remember seeing all the storage towers, but I want to thank you for coming in today and sharing some information about Whiz.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me here.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
All right, coming up after the break, we're going to be talking to another contract manufacturer. That is Valtronic.
Sponsored by Panasonic. Smart factory solutions for any mix, any volume. Introducing the new NPM W2S, the ideal placement solution for manufacturers who value reduced setup and changeover time over volume.
And welcome back. I'm joined by Stuart Guy, who is the enterprise manager at Valtronic. It's a company based out of Ohio. Nice to see you, Stuart.
Nice to see you too, Trevor.
Okay, so you're mostly involved in the medical manufacturing industry. You're about 80% medical, is that correct?
That's true, yes, we are.
Right. So what sort of particular strains does that bring? Because, I mean, you're involved in the board assembly, but you're going more into design and final product as well.
We are. When it was just PCBA assembly, it was a little bit easier.
Right.
But the flexibility that you have when you're dealing with medical, as much as we are, it's not like you dealing with a consumer market where you have more flexibility. You can change parts more readily. Once you're building final designs that are ready for human use, we're pretty well stuck with the packaging as it is and the parts as it is.
So these designs pretty much have to be FDA approved.
Yeah. Anything that's going obviously in a human body or anything human use would need to be FDA approved. Not necessarily by us, but we are FDA registered, but by the customer themselves. If they're doing the final packaging, they will have to be FDA approved.
So how does that affect you, for example, with the component shortages we've been having in the industry? I mean,
well, it affects us quite a bit because in a consumer market, which I was in for many years before coming to Valtronic, we had a lot of flexibility. We could change parts out quickly.
Right.
All we had to do was have an engineer do a spec on a part. If it looks similar, we're good to go. In the medical industry, if it's already been FDA approved, you're stuck with that part, and you better find that part, otherwise you have challenges ahead of you.
You can't just redesign around it. You've got to work with the same part.
Yeah, you can't redesign around. That's almost like an act of God to go ahead and get a part redesigned around or substituting in a part. If you're lucky, the engineering departments at the companies that we do business with has already maybe had some experience and already had another part, added to their approved supplier list that we may not know about. So as soon as we run into a challenge, we get a hold of them right away.
Right.
Our engineering staff, purchasing department, which I control, we go ahead and we inform the engineering staff right away. Engineers get a hold of the customers, tell them the challenges that we're up against, to see if they have any options for us, and if they don't, then we start looking ourselves to see what we can do. And sometimes you just have to go to the gray market and see if you can find something if they can't live with the lead time that you're getting on the parts.
Well, going to the grey market brings in all sorts of challenges itself, because I mean, you have to obviously improve your inspection of goods inward to avoid counterfeit and all these sorts of issues.
We do. We limit the number of gray market suppliers that we use. We only use about 5 of them. Only time we go outside of those 5 is if a customer already had one that they recommended that they've used in the past. Otherwise, we stick with that because we have a long history with these people, and they've supplied us good parts in the past, and they know what we're looking for, and they do an extensive check of the part before we receive it. And then also when we get it in there, we have a trained staff that has a very extensive look that they have to do to the part. Obviously, we don't know what's inside. We're not x-raying all the parts, but we can do that. We can take a look at them. And for the most part, we've been fairly successful with that.
Okay. So how big a company is Valtronic? I mean, how many lines do you have up there?
Well, we're installing we have 3 lines today, and we're installing another one. We've just bought some more equipment this past week, and I was just called this morning to have it delivered.
Great. So I mean, are you looking to implement some smart factory style?
We're here today to keep looking in the future. Over the last 5 years, we've really invested heavily into equipment and re-upgraded all of the main equipment throughout our whole building. We use clean room, we do chip on board, we do flip chip, we do wire bonding. So we do things that's really micro small that gets embedded in people's bodies.
A lot of back-end packaging stuff.
Yes.
I mean, people have been writing off wire bonding for years. Do you think it's ever going to happen?
Well, there's a lot of people. We just landed another new account that has wire bonding. New wire bonding. It's only been out for the last 3 years. So
Right.
we think that's going to last for a while, and it's an awfully large customer that we just are working with today. Wire bonding has decreased quite a bit over the years, but it's also decreasing the people that do wire bonding, which opens up the opportunity for us to have that business.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. That's great. Great. Well, thanks for coming in today, Stuart, and
Thanks
giving
for
us an
having me.
update on Valtronic. It's lovely to meet you, and I hope to get up to your factory someday.
That would be great. I'd like to have you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for
Thank you.
joining us. Okay, coming back after the break, we have Albert Yanis from Asteel Flash. And welcome back. Delighted to be joined by Albert Yanis, President of Asteel Flash. Nice to see you again, Albert.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
So you've had a phenomenal year. You've broken the 1 billion market.
We did. We finally did it.
Yeah.
We wanted to do this since 2014, and we finally broke it. It took us a little bit longer.
There you go. So how much has the tariff situation helped you to achieve that?
The tariff situation hasn't really helped achieve it, but it has definitely changed our portfolio mix by region. So we have a lot of customers that have panicked dramatically to move their products from China into my Mexico facilities or even into our Tunisia, North Africa facilities.
Any of it coming back here to the United States?
Some, very little though, more on the new product side, not for production.
So bringing it back to, say, Mexico, for example, is that a case of they can, because Mexico has free trade agreements and these types of things, they can do more of the assembly down in Mexico, and then it's just one tariff cost when they import it to the United States?
That's part of it, but mainly it's Mexico's become, even though it's a low-cost manufacturing country, it's the skills in Mexico now are phenomenal.
Right.
Over the last 20 years, they've gone from lots of labor to knowing how to operate high complex equipment. Bringing products from China into Mexico and transforming them to eliminate the tariff is the key.
Right.
So that's where we come in and help in setting up that supply chain and how we do that for our customers.
Right. That's interesting. So what about the component shortage side? I mean, that's a bugbear for a lot of people.
So that's still very painful. This past year, 2018, was extremely painful. I see some softening in the market today. A few manufacturers did do some capacity increases, but automotive, China, smartphones have slowed down. We think after the Chinese New Year, we'll see an increase, which will cause constraints again.
Right.
For example, Murata's large case, they put out their notice, March is the last time buy.
Right.
You make your order March 2019, the last shipment will be March 2020.
Really?
Vishay is still in allocation.
Really?
MOSFETs I'd watch out for.
MOSFETs? Really?
MOSFETs, I believe strongly, are going to see increase in lead times and a big increase in price.
Right.
They're
That's
being used
interesting.
heavily now for power switching.
Okay. Are you finding any customers, because of the tariffs and the other uncertainties across the world, holding back on projects?
Yes. So not on projects. But what I'm seeing is people paralyzed. They have a product in China.
Right.
They don't want the 25% tariff. They don't know how long it's going to last. But they're paralyzed whether they should move it or not. So they're doing all the work, making all the CMs, all of us go through all the work of coding and figuring out the supply chain, and then freeze. So we're trying to help them with making those decisions, and what are the smart decisions. Right. You do have to make an assumption. I don't think tariffs have ever lasted forever.
No.
So I think this is a 6 to 9 more month, and I think China will give in and we'll come to a deal.
Right.
And I think there'll be a tariff, but I don't think it'll be 25%.
Of those that have moved back or brought back manufacturing to Mexico and places like that, are they happy with that decision?
At the moment, they're very happy. Right. We actually had some customers come back that had left us because of our locations.
Right.
So and I have 2 new customers that have joined
That's
us
nice.
in the middle of 2018 that are now ramping up to be fairly large customers.
Right.
Yeah. So
So, last time we spoke, you were using your automation in your factory to control a lot of your component supply and other things. You're a friendly
Yes.
system called Smith.
yes, Mr. Smith.
Tell us about Mr. Smith.
Yes, our AI system.
Yeah.
So Mr. Smith is still in work in progress. It's an extremely complicated project, but it's doing very well. We think in one more quarter that we will be launching the material side of it, full bore. So if you recall, this is actually, it's going to study the supply chain. It will map out all the pricing. It will dictate where we should buy from.
Well, it builds in a lot of different metrics as well. It looks at does it look at things like geopolitical risks and stuff like that?
It looks at everything, including the weather.
Right.
Where's the ship? Is there a weather storm? Should we cancel the order on the ship and place an order somewhere else?
Right.
Because it's not going to make it in time,
That's incredible.
or it's in a danger zone. So yeah, it's quite intelligent. It's an amazing project. I can't wait to see it fully implemented.
Great. And are you continuing factory automation towards?
Yep. We continue to invest. So we did complete our cobot project in 2018. So we launched 3 different projects in 3 different regions using the same cobots.
Using cobots to deliver components to the line from storage towers?
No, these were actually automation in production.
Automation
so we
in
used them for that,
production,
yeah.
okay.
And we did a conformal coding project. We did a ICT testing project, and we did just a pick and place project. All 3 were successful in all 3 regions. So now we will roll that out to all the regions.
Right.
All 3 projects.
Right.
And yeah, they're quite impressive. They're, they all got, they all have their own names, and they all
Right.
have their own caretakers now, and
Great.
operators are happy, and robots
Good.
work and don't complain.
Good.
Yeah.
So what's next for Steel Flash?
Next, so we're continuing to grow. We're on a very good growth plan. I think that we will. You'll see more investment in automation, factory automation, and there's a couple things I can't talk about, but there are some exciting things that will happen in 2019 that will make a Steel Flash
Even better.
even better. It will be really known. Yes.
Great. Well, great to catch up with you, Albert.
Yes, thank you.
And see how well Steel Flash is doing. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Again. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's nice being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, coming back up after the break, we're going to be talking to Michael Ford, who is one of the principal authors of CFX, and he's heavily involved in the IPC traceability projects. And welcome back. We can hear the music in the background. The pace is starting to pick up here at Apex. Delighted to be joined by Michael Ford, who of course is one of the principal authors of CFX. Nice to see you, Michael.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
So, very quickly, where are we with CFX? It's been launched officially. We have a demonstration upstairs of a working line, and it's about to be published. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's an incredible milestone we've got to after a couple of years of a lot of hard work from a lot of different people.
Right.
So yes, the voting went through unanimously, positive. So 1.0 is imminently about to be released.
Right.
We have the 2 manufacturing lines upstairs, actually. One that's working with the Hermes standard as well, so giving people an understanding of how they work together. And the second one showing the breadth of how CFX supports not just SMT, but also manual assembly processes as well, all the way through to final box build.
Really?
So It's been really exciting to get this out, into the open now officially.
Excellent, excellent. So, what exactly will CFX bring, this first version? What can manufacturers expect to get from it?
Yeah, it's kind of fully featured. We have the majority, well, all of the top-level topics defined, so that it can be used for so many different applications. And that's where the interesting thing started in the meeting we had yesterday, because people were saying, well, okay, the data problem is now solved.
Yep.
We can now get the data. So much momentum is built up. We've got, I think, more than 80 machines here at in the show floor sending out CFX data. So now what do we do with the data? You know, where's the value going to be?
Right.
And so we kind of painted a picture that, you know, from one extreme of manufacturing where you're making kind of spaceships and satellites and things like that, where you need ultimate traceability.
Yeah.
CFX delivers the fine detail as defined by the IPC traceability standard, for example. So it can be used for that traceability, compliance, conformance.
Right.
But then at the opposite end of the scale, where you may be making USB sticks, there it's all about being flexible. It's all about having that real-time visibility of what's going on.
Right.
So the actual values are going to be a wide range from one extreme to the other.
Right. Okay. Now you've had a couple of larger companies now starting to adopt CFX, or at least make a statement that they're going to adopt it.
Yes, indeed.
Can you talk about these?
Yeah, there are some very large companies who are on record saying. I think the first key one that we saw was Foxconn.
Right.
I mean,
much
it doesn't
bigger than
get
that.
any bigger than that.
Right.
And you know, a lot of these larger companies have always had difficulty simply because of the sheer breadth of the different machine types and processes they support.
Right.
I mean, they make everything, and they use every kind of conceivable piece of equipment. And so for them, the problem of the standardization of data has been really, literally impossible to do.
Right.
And so, you know, all of the kind of efforts that have been made, they're kind of now realized that, you know, having CFX in place for the industry is exactly what they want.
It's exactly what we need. It's going to create the standardization that lets us build upon it to go to the next level.
That's right, and it gives the whole industry a step forward. So
Right.
we're really happy to see that, you know, more and more big companies are coming out and saying, you know, we understand this, we understand the value that this represents. It's not just another standard.
Right.
Here we've actually defined the whole content. It's something we can work very easily with the software development kit that is available free. It really is the answer. And
Right.
so seeing the companies coming out to support it drives that critical momentum that is needed.
Now you mentioned very briefly there the IPC traceability standard, and I know you're involved in that as well.
Yes.
And we are going to be discussing it in one of our panel discussions shortly. But tell me very quickly what's going on with that.
Well, we are seeing the need for quality management and anti-counterfeit measures that go beyond the factory back to the supplier. 1782 resolved the problem of traceability within the factory floor. It was the first actual standard that defines what is used, so people don't have to argue about it anymore. But being able to track an instance of an issue back to the incoming package is the first step.
Right.
Now, the second step is to track that package back to the responsible person in the supply chain, such that if any quality or counterfeit issue is found, it can be clearly tracked back. But we need to do this in a way that brings value and benefit for all of the players involved. The original manufacturers, the distributors, as well as the consumers of the material. And that's what the discussion is about now.
Right. Right. Well, we're going to, as I said before, we're going to be discussing that in some depth. So I don't want to go too far into that, but we look forward to seeing how that transpires over the coming months.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be the next big thing that people look at.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us this morning, Michael, and we'll look forward to our first panel discussion coming up. But for now, I want to say thank you for joining the first day at Apex, and we shall be coming up with more programming later in the day. Thank you.